what's up, Slunts? Joker here, and welcome to part 1 of my series about my new home theater PC. Now, with this build, I basically took all the parts from my old PC. Now, if you were watching this week, you saw I did the X99 build, where I still had a lot of usable parts that are still pretty modern parts that I could still use and still get a PC out of. So I went ahead and I moved those over to the NZXT H440, and I'm going to be using that now as a streaming PC out into the living room that I'm going to have hooked up via my local network using the NZXT Doko, which they were kind enough to send out to me, if you can see it there. Yeah, NZXT Doko. This is a hot little streaming device that I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on. That's going to be part 2, so if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe so you can see that video in the very near future. But the primary focus of this video is I really wanted to talk about the build that I did in the H440 for the streaming PC. Obviously, you can see by looking at it, it's a Razer themed case. It's got a really nice rubberized black matte finish going all the way around, with some parts that are accented by like a black piano finish, which I'm usually not a fan of. As far as like if it was a whole thing being black piano finish, I wouldn't care for it. But I really like that they just done the accents with the black piano finish, so it just highlights it enough without being, a different color or anything like that. So it's black pretty much all the way around, apart from, the lights and the Razer logo. But it looks really, really nice, especially at nighttime with the lights off. I had this thing sitting next to me glowing, and it just looked really, really good. The lights on the bottom coming off, which you can see behind me back there just a little bit underneath the case right now. It looks great. Everyone in my house was coming back here to check out the PC just to look at it. It's like my new X99 build didn't even exist, because it's just a plain box compared to this thing. It's just a plain box in the Define R5. But the H440 definitely has that flair, that gaming look to it. So if you are looking, for something that's sort of subtle, it's subtle in a lot of ways. It's sort of unassuming if you look at it from the right side, but then you turn it around and you look at the left and you're just like, wow, that is really nice. And it's got a big, large window on the side, but it's a tinted window, so you're not going to see everything inside your case. So if you are looking for a case that has a completely clear window so you can see inside and see all your components and all your nice wiring, then maybe you're not wanting to look at something with a tinted window like this one. But I really like it. I like the tinted window mostly because my internal components didn't really match the black and green theme of this, because this was parts, from my old build before I did the X99 upgrade. So I've got the 3570K in there, and my MSI Z77 M-Power motherboard, and then I've also got the Thermaltake Frio advanced cooler on there, which I'd like to have a water cooler on there. So, it's possible I could do like something like the NZXT Kraken X61 in the future. That'd be really nice to have like that big 280mm radiator up at the top, just to see how it fits inside this case and see how it works with water cooling and, having clearance and stuff like that. Because right now I don't have any fans at the top. It didn't include any fans on top, but it did include 3 fans at the front, 320mm fans in the front, and then another fan in the rear. And it's keeping it very, very cool. It's running around 32 to 35 degrees, even just on air. And despite the fact that this thing is closed up pretty much all the way around, it's got a small vent on the front, right to bring in some air, and then it's got the exhaust in the back, and then there's also some ventilation at the top on the left side as well, but not on the right side. The right side's completely solid. But despite it being closed up like that, it's actually still getting a lot of airflow, and that's probably thanks to the vents at the front with the 320mm fans that are bringing in a lot of airflow coming over the CPU. And then I've got the Thermaltake cooler on there, which it's fairly adequate, but I'd like to have a water cooler on there. So maybe I could look at the NZXT Kraken X61 in the future. That would be pretty sweet to see this as an ongoing project. Maybe then I could get some like green sleeved cables for the power supply if I were to get like a modular power supply, or maybe I could just get some like green or black extensions for my current power supply just to make it look a lot nicer in there. And then I would even like to maybe take the RAM and the motherboard and maybe paint those and just completely mod this PC and just have a lot of fun with it. And if I could do that, I'll definitely keep this as an ongoing series with the H440 and the NZXT streaming PC. So that's something I would definitely like to do in the future, and I'd like to get your guys' input on it. So if you have any ideas for what you'd like to see me do in the H440, or maybe there's just something you're not sure how to do and you just want to see me tinker around and teach you how to do something, you can let me know that down in the comments below as well, because I'd like this to almost be like a community project, really, because this is going to be an ongoing thing. If I ever get any graphics cards to review or something like that, if I'm not putting it in my main PC, I'll probably put it in the H440 and use it like as a ad hoc test bench, since I've got it sitting there with no graphics card right now. So that would be really nice. But yeah, that's further down the road. So but let me know down in the comments below if there's anything you'd like to see me do with this build in particular. One positive I wanted to note about this case was the power supply shroud down at the bottom. Thankfully, having this there allowed me to hide the entire spaghetti monster of cables that I have on my Corsair TX850. This is my non-modular power supply from my old build, so, it's not really color matched to fit this build at all. And it's non-modular, like I said, so it's got a gigantic nest of cables. But thankfully, there's so much room down there underneath that power supply shroud. And also with the cover, there's a cover that goes down in front of the hard drive cages, so you can't see any of that either. So any of your wires that are routed behind where the hard drive cages are, you're not going to be able to see that because it's all covered up with that. So just having all of that there allowed me to just hide all of the mess from the non-modular power supply. So if you're looking to get this case, maybe you have a non-modular PSU that you're looking to bring over from an old build, you don't have to worry about those cables blocking your airflow or just looking ugly in the build, because they're going to be down there, they're going to be hidden and out of the way of the fans and everything. So that was just one of the really, really nice features on this particular case. Also, on top of the power supply shroud, there was 2 SSD mounts, which I'm using one of for my boot drive right now. I've also still got to get some storage drives for the system. I'm probably going to get like a 4 terabyte storage drive for this, so I could put like movies on there and pictures, home movies and stuff on there with a 2 or a 4 terabyte drive, and everyone in the house will be able to access this out in the living room and just use it as almost like a family computer. So that's the primary goal anyway, once I get everything all squared away. But the SSD mounts on top of the power supply shroud were really nice. The only problem I did have is I had to make sure that I had a straight SATA cable, because all the ones I had were right angle, apart from a red one that I had left over from like years ago. So I was able to use that, thankfully. And then also my SATA power cable, there was it kind of has like a bend on it, but that, this is due to the power supply. So I had to really, really force it in to be able to actually get in there with using the SSD bracket on top of the power supply shroud. But if you have, if your SATA power cables are just straight and it doesn't have like a bend in the cable at all, then you're not going to have to worry about it. Like for example, my new EVGA power supply cables, it wouldn't have been an issue with that one, but it was with my Corsair power supply. So that's something worth considering if you're going to be doing the SSDs mounted on top of the power supply shroud, although I don't know why you wouldn't, because they look extremely sexy sitting up there. Another important feature with this case, besides the fact that it just looks absolutely outstanding, is that it is advertising itself as, trying to take steps forward as far as sound dampening is concerned. So there's a lot of like nice rubber sound dampening material at the front of the case. There's some on the windowed side of the case, and then also the back side where all your cables are routed behind the motherboard. There's a huge piece of black foam on there, a rubberized foam stretched across the entire thing. So that whole side is just rubber foam, and that actually might prevent some people from being able to close the door, so you got to be kind of tidy with your cables, because there's not a ton of clearance back there. But I was able to get it on without a problem, because I was only using a few cables. And as long as push it on, I'm sure you'll be able to push it on there. And the doors actually stay on even without the thumb screws, because there's like clips along the top, like little indentations, and you have to like clip it in and then slide it. You slide the door and it like kind of holds in place while you're putting in your screws. It wasn't like the latch on the Define R5, but it was a good implementation, something that kept the doors on while you're fiddling around looking for your thumb screws. Like, oh, where did I put those thumb screws? Well, at least the door's in place now. I don't need to sit here and try to hold the door while I'm looking for thumb screws. So it was a nice feature to have that included. It actually took me a while to figure that out at first. I was like, how do I get this damn door off? And then I realized it had to slide off, and once I got that, I was like, oh yeah, duh, idiot. But yeah, the sound dampening is great on this case. I would have liked to seen a side panel without the window, completely sound dampened. But if you want to, I understand people want to look at their parts, and it looks really good with the tinted window. So I'm not going to complain too much, because it's still not that noisy. It's definitely it's good enough. It's definitely dampens the sound enough. I can't really hear it at all, because I'm not really gaming on it. So the fans are running at only around like 50% speed, and keeping it quite cool, all at the same time. Last thing I want to note about this case is that it does not have any included 5¼ inch bays. So if you need a DVD drive to install Windows, if you somehow can't get it on a USB, which I don't know how you can't in 2015, I don't think people really need disk drives anymore, but if you are someone that needs a disk drive or you really want to have a disk drive in your PC, then the H440 is not going to be the case for you because it has no 5 1/4 inch drives. So I want to get that out to be very clear about that. There is no 5 1/4 inch drives in this system, so there's going to be no CD or DVD drives for you to put in there. But overall, I would have to say I'm very, very happy with the Razer H440 case from NZXT. Everything from the looks and the layout and the design was absolutely fantastic, and it was just a dream to work in, really. There was plenty of room for me able to put everything. You know, even that when I was routing the SSD on top of the power supply shroud, there was cutouts back there beneath the motherboard for me to pull those wires through, as well as my front panel audio and USB connectors. Those were all able to come up right underneath the power supply shroud and just stick up a little bit, so I didn't have them running all through the case and making it look messy. So even though I was using a non-modular power supply, this build still came out looking incredibly neat. You know, there's not any wires out of place that you can really see. You know, you're just seeing the 8-pin for the CPU, the 24-pin for the power supply, and then like an SSD cable poking through and a SATA cable, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is all tucked behind nicely, thanks to, you know, cable tie-down points and also the power supply shroud, which hid the entire spaghetti monster down there in the basement of the case. So I definitely recommend the H440 if you're looking for something that does sound dampening, but also has a little bit of flair and some lights on it. And and especially this one, if you're a big Razer fan. I mean, if you're a Razer fan, then this case it's got your name all over it, man. There's a lot of color variants out there. I've seen like a white and black one that looks really nice. I've seen a black and blue one that also looks really nice that my buddy Kurt's friend from work actually got recently, I believe. I think he got the black and blue one, if I'm not mistaken. But that one looked really nice. They all look great. You know, so go check them out. If, you know, whatever your color scheme is, I'm sure they probably have an H440 that's going to fit that. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you did enjoy this video. Stick a thumb up on it below if you did. And don't forget to check out part 2 in a couple days, where I'm going to be looking at the NZXT Doko, which is what this PC is going to be streaming to out in the living room. This thing can even run games. So I'm going to be playing some games out there, maybe some Shovel Knight, some Battlefield, maybe some Assassin's Creed or the Batman games. I don't know. So I want to play some good action adventure titles that'll work well with a controller out in the living room. So oh, sorry, I hit my mic there. So if you got any ideas for games you'd like to see me test on the Doko out in the living room, let me know down in the comments below, and if you get them in quick enough, then I'll probably be able to do that for that video, because I still haven't shot it yet. So once again, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.